Hello, this is Danny Raymond, the voice behind Ray's Guide. 3.20 went to the live servers this week, so it's time for my regular Essentials video on the release where I cover the most important features and hints as briefly as possible. Normally, I would have done this a little earlier in the patch cycle. There were a few things that might have been worthy of an Essentials video, but are now confirmed to be in a 3.20.x build. I'll include those at the end. 3.20 will be principally known for three major things: the revitalization of Arena Commander, our first looks at master modes, and the introduction of the Hull C and all that was needed to go along with it. There are also three minor essentials, which is why I'm calling this 3x2 essentials. Now, to get into everything that is different about Arena Commander wouldn't comply with my desire to make the essentials video brief. There's a new lobby, a new way of selecting games that merges both FPS and ship combat gameplay modes, a special experimental modes that will hold the promise of there being monthly short-term special events inside of Arena Commander. There are new gunplay maps and new tank battle maps, and undoubtedly others. Hints are being dropped, and in the future there being combined arms maps, including hints about the theaters of war crossroads of crime finally making it into our hands. Clearly, CIG has realized that with more and more time-consuming elements being introduced into the persistent universe, and with players being spread out over an ever-increasing areas of space, the need for an instant action option is both genuine and ongoing. And frankly, while there are plenty of very popular games for instant action match play multiplayer modern combat, the landscape is much emptier for instant action multiplayer match play futuristic combat. But before you get your hopes up for a futuristic Call of Duty, I need to point out that this is still a Star Citizen game, and that Star Citizen multiplayer is server-centered rather than peer-to-peer, with the server just being a matchmaker and scorekeeper. So your expectations for latency and desync should be set accordingly. This will not be Call of Duty in space. Now, the one thing that's sadly missing from the 3.20 improvements to Arena Commander, which they have made it clear is their top priority to complete as soon as possible, but have not committed to doing it in the 3.20.x release, is private lobbies and private games. These are essential to really having Arena Commander have the full expected feature set for this kind of game. CIG seems fully cognizant of that, so hopefully real soon now actually will be real soon now. But most important about the new maps in Arena Commander are a couple of experimental modes, including Master Mode flight mechanics. So this represents our first look at how ship combat will work in Squadron 42 and how it will work in the future for the whole persistent universe. I won't get too far into the details of master modes because it is still evolving, and frankly others are much better at executing and commenting on dogfighting tactics than me. Now, the third big thing in 3.20 is the Hull C and all the stuff that comes with it. And yes, in the upcoming week, I will be giving away one of these, fulfilling a promise I made when the channel hit 10,000 subscribers. And thus, this is the last video to qualify for that giveaway. But I'll give you a few days if you want to go back and comment on prior videos. Now, CIG a while back promised not to release a major career ship without some sort of gameplay to do with them. And they have done so with the Hull C, but is clearly a Tier 0 implementation of what they eventually want to create with cargo gameplay. But it does work, if frustrating and frequently inconsistent. To start with, where can the Hull C go? With the cargo spindle retracted, in other words, as a very large and slow shuttle, it can land any place with a large hangar or a large pad or just a big area of flat space. With the cargo spindle extended, it can dock any place that has a capital ship docking port. This includes Port Olisar and all the low planet orbit and Lagrange point stations. However, it can only load and unload at stations with a cargo center. This means to actually use the Hull C as a cargo ship, you have four choices: Seraphim Station, the replacement of Port Olisar above Crusader; Virginie Point, the station above Arcorp; Everest Harbor, the station above Hurston; and Port Tressler, the station above Microtech. And there are profitable buy-sell commodity pairs between all of these, but sometimes only one, and they may be overextended. Then there is the process that you have to follow. Let's say you are starting a station with your Hull C in storage. Here are the steps. 1. Go to the admin center and buy cargo. Note that there will be a message warning you that the cargo still needs to be loaded. 2. Go to the ASOP terminals and call up your Hull C. If it was stored folded, it might be brought to a hangar, but more likely it will be brought to a docking port. If so, go immediately to your ship, board, and, pro tip, immediately close the door behind you. Number 3, go to the cockpit and, again pro tip, immediately lock the door behind you. 4. Go to the pilot seat and request undocking from the station. The ATC service might sometimes be packed. My personal experience is that it seems to work best from the ship MFD, but that might be coincidental. Number 5. If the ATC does not automatically direct you to the cargo dock, immediately contact the cargo center. Again, this seems to be luckier from the ship MFD in my experience. 6. You will be directed to a glowing cube of space. Carefully move so that your ship is entirely inside the glowing cube. If you haven't already deployed the cargo arms, do so. Number 7. Once you have come to a complete halt fully inside the cube, the loading should commence. Number 8. When loading is completed, the station will immediately accuse you of blocking active locations, so strafe away promptly in a safe direction. Number 9. Quantum travel to your destination. Number 10. When you get to your destination, request landing. You will obviously be directed to a docking port. I hope you practice your docking skills. Number 11. Leave the ship. Now here is a double pro tip. You can't close the door of the hull C behind you. The outside switch is blocked by the docking collar. So I bring my Alt 0 to Hero test character along on board with my laptop. The only job of the Alt character is to close the door behind me and to open it when I return. In the meantime, they lock themselves in the cockpit. Number 12. Go to the admin center and sell. Once again, you will get a warning that the cargo still needs to be unloaded. Number 13. Return to your ship. Again, plead with the station to let you undock. Number 14, if they haven't already contacted you, call cargo services and be given that glowing box to park inside. Number 15, park inside the glowing box and watch your stuff be unloaded. Congratulations, just 15 simple steps and you've completed a trade run. And that's what it takes to trade in a Hull C. Clearly a temporary mechanic, which means that we may be using it anywhere from a few months to a decade. Now, for the 3 minor essentials. First, there is a new physics model for wheeled vehicles. They do seem to stick and skid on the ground better, but it also seems that more tweaking needs to be done in the future. The vehicles still seem to be lacking in apparent mass and bounce around like they were made of paper mache, but I do regard this as a more realistic and generally better set of physics. Also, well, this mule seems zippier than I remember. Now, the second minor essentials is the continued upgrade of physical cargo. You may have noted in the Hull C was using the 32 SCU cargo containers that use a new 2x2x8 layout. But this is just the largest of several new sizes. So, for example, in this test, I've parked the mule in the corner of the Hercules, and now I'm going to go to the trade terminal, and it has blocked out the number of SCU that the mule is obstructing. Then I'm going to buy various quantities of 3 different minerals. Now, when I return to the ship, I see the game has done the whole 3D Tetris of picking up the right sizes of boxes and the right packing of them. Quite impressive, I have to admit. Now, all of these boxes of various sizes can be manipulated with my handheld tractor beam, although that is likely a temporary situation until the shoulder-fired tractor beam that has been teased makes its appearance. The third minor essential is the addition of timed hull salvage missions. These are gray hat missions to fully remove the hull from a craft, and thus, presumably, the ability to identify its former owners before law enforcement shows up. There are 2 different sizes of these missions, one obviously intended for solo players in the Vulture, and much more lucrative ones clearly intended to need a well-crewed reclaimer in order to finish in time. Adding the time pressure gives a bit of edge to the normally super chill activity of hull scraping, and if you get it done fast enough, you can also pull guns, components, and cargo if available. All in all, the profit per hour is quite respectable for an unopposed mission type. Now, before wrapping up here, there are things that have been mentioned for a 3.20.x release. New Crusader platforms for missions so that they can resume having runs of Siege of Orison. New Retrieve consignment missions that hold a lot of promise for team co-op PvE gameplay. And then the Tumbrel Storm Scout Tank, and 2 of the 3 Crusader Spirit Series ships, the C-1 Medium Cargo and the A-1 Light Bomber. So, if you don't include the additions and changes to Arena Commander, it's a fairly light release. But if you do, then it's a huge release. And now for an update on our giveaways. As I said earlier, this is the last qualifying video before the 10,000 subscriber thank you giveaway for the Hull C, this colossal cargo container carrying craft. And then there is the annual IAE Week giveaway for the winner's choice of either the Galaxy Complete, the Monster Modular Moving Mining Medical Machine, or the Banu Big Box Bargain Bazaar called the Merchantman. 1 entry per video. Members, you're entered automatically. Otherwise, just be a subscriber and comment with the secret word. And the secret word for this video is the number of steps I had in completing a trade run using a Hull C. Fly safe, keep it real, and I'll see you in the verse. This is Daniel Raymond for Ray's Guide.